you guys have been on TikTok, but this has been driving me nuts for the past like month or so. I honestly thought that I wouldn't be doing this trend because I thought I was like already too late for it. But I'm doing it anyway because it just hasn't been done correctly, in my opinion. But somebody posted, I'll put the user here, they posted like, oh, somebody who's talented enough turned this flower into a dress. And I saw it originally and I was like, ah, someone's gonna do that really fast. And then for some reason, everybody's done it, I don't wanna say wrong, but just not how I would have done it. So now I'm going to do it. And so I think this is gonna be a pretty quick project. For the fabric, I'm literally using a thrifted bed sheet that I got from Goodwill and then 7 yards of a chiffon fabric that I bought. And I've been doing some dyeing tests. And I ended up with this pretty nice ombre. So this is going to be a long draping and dyeing process, but I just feel like I need to do it. So let's get started. Nittany and I are having a crafting day. She's working on her scrapbooking business. Go check her out.
It definitely already exists.
Yeah, totally exists. I already started sketching. I think this is the official design that we're gonna go with. It's more drapery than I thought I was going to do, but I think this is the best design that's like the truest to the picture. And now I'm just gonna start draping. Oh, also, I don't know if this is gonna be my first video back on my channel, but if it is, hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm gonna be going back to like my more typical content with patterns and everything, but I'm still working on patterns. So in the meantime, we're doing this fun little project and hopefully I'm gonna get back to regular posting soon. Hi! This is going to be the upcoming pattern. Eventually, it's already filmed. Ignore the squeaking, she's a little broken. It's already filmed. I just am having trouble getting patterns made, so I'm trying to make them a lot nicer than they were before. So upgrade's coming. You'll see her later. She needs to be naked right now. Don't look. It's kind of scandalous.
So because this dress form is not adjustable and it doesn't fit me exactly, the first thing that I did is I used some batting and I basically just padded it out so that it would fit my exact measurements. And then I made a cutesy little slip dress for her just to keep everything all smooth. And then I was able to go ahead and drape this design exactly how I wanted it to my own dimensions. And then from there, I just marked everything together, took it off the dress form, and then cleaned it all up. And I cut out a second version of it in the same fabric to use as a lining. And then because this fabric was really thin because it is just a sheet, to give it a little bit more structure, I decided to use this cotton fabric that I had lying around kind of as like an interfacing or a stabilizer. And so because it's a little bit thicker, I'm basically cutting out the same pieces in a layer of this fabric as well, pinning that to one of my exterior layers, and then later I'm going to baste everything together. And that way I'm going to treat them as one layer of fabric. And once those were all basted together, I started assembling two of the same bodices. One is the lining and one is the exterior. And I broke a needle in the process pretty nastily. It really bent this poor pin out of shape. But I really just assembled it the exact same way that I had it on the dress form.
Okay, yeah, not bad for a first try on. So because all I'm using for the lining is this sheet, I want to make the skirt like as big as I possibly can, but I keep going back and forth if I want it to be bias cut or not. And so I think I'm just gonna cut out the back skirt and then use whatever I have left for the front part of the skirt and see where that gets me.
Does anybody else's dogs like only want attention right as they're trying to like work on their sewing projects on the floor? Because Basil just wants everybody to tell her how cute she is. So everybody in the comments, please tell her how cute she is. But for the skirt, I'm gonna show you it in a second. It's kind of funky. It's really just one big piece, and I made the waistline pretty big so that it could like wrap around in the front.
Alrighty, so the lining is pretty much all done. So now we finally get to move on to the draping. I'm pretty happy overall with the shape I was able to get. This skirt is like super weird and I kind of had to Frankenstein it together. This project is not perfect. It's mostly just like a fun, creative experiment. So pretty happy with the progress, and now it's more on to the fun stuff.
And by onto the fun stuff, I meant finally working with the chiffon, which I love doing, but it's also like the worst at the same time just because it is really finicky. And for this design, I really wanted it to like not have any harsh seams because the flower is so smooth. I wanted it to just like be as smooth as possible. And so I tried to do these in like long, big draped pieces, which meant a lot of them had to be on the bias. And so this was just a lot of pinning and unpinning and hand stitching.
Okay, so the dress is like very roughly draped. I basically draped out all of the pieces that I would need to make this dress. And all of the seams and stuff that I need to mark, I thread traced around the whole thing so that I can get it pinned into the shape again. But I needed to do it this way because I need to individually dye all these pieces to get the correct gradients. So now it's time to dye it and pray for the best. So the plan of attack, I'm taking all of these pieces individually and I'm kind of figuring out exactly how I want the gradients to work, and so I think I want them going down this way. I'm kind of taking it at each point I want it to start, like this. I scrunch it across that, and then I'm just kind of wadding all of this stuff up and tying this together. Except that's not really helpful when you break it.
I was using just like the Rit dye that you get from pretty much any craft store to do this. So you always want to add a little bit of dish soap into your hot water and then wet your fabric before you put it in as well. And honestly, I was so nervous about the dyeing process because I feel like this is a real like make it or break it moment. And I have to say, I feel like it turned out pretty good. Like I definitely had some mishaps with it. At one point, I really thought I made the colors too dark. But overall, I was really happy with it all once it dried. And honestly, just like working with dye is so mesmerizing. Like I love the colors. I should really just dye my own fabric more often, especially with Joann's clothing. It's like, at this point, we're gonna have to get creative with it.
I think it's looking pretty nice.
And once everything had been rinsed and dried, it was finally time to start like actually putting the dress together. And so I draped it back into the same position that I had it previously and made sure that all of my thread tracing lined up with where I had thought it would. And then I started cutting away and stitching everything in place for realsies this time. And because this dress had so much drapery happening, a lot of it did have to be hand stitched, and I wish I had taken a little bit more time doing all of this because this dress is not the most like technically good dress I've done ever, but I do think that it was like a really fun creative process to get the idea of the flower into a physical representation of it. So this one was less of making a perfect garment and more so of doing a fun challenge, but it did take a lot of hand stitching.
Alrighty, so now basically the outer layer is all draped and stitched in place. So now I'm just going to be taking it off the dress form and sewing the lining in and attaching both of the skirt panels.
And the main construction of this dress was really just like draping and stitching everything in place to the outer lining of the dress. And then I took it off the dress form like you saw, and I basically sewed the inner lining around it on all of the edges to kind of just like clean everything up and get rid of all of the scraggly bits. And then from there I also attached the skirts, and then I really wasn't sure how to do the skirt part because I really wanted to like get the flower shape across. And so I realized that in my sewing box I had a whole bunch of this horsehair, and I decided to put that around the whole bottom edge of the skirt so that it would kind of keep all of those layers together and accentuate the really flowery shape of this dress. And then after that, it was time to try it on. Once again, is this dress perfect? No. But is it giving flower? I have to say it is. I really think that it got the right shape and the right dye job across to really get the vision that everybody was talking about, at least my own interpretation of it. And I was kind of panicking while I was dyeing this dress, but I feel like it really turned out well. I feel like the gradient is really nice and soft, but it still transitions nicely into all of the different colors. And also the stripe down the back is like my favorite part, and I feel like the most important part of the flower. So you guys will have to let me know how I did in the comments. I'm really excited for you guys to see this video and like bring our little community back together. And like I said, there's going to be like a real video back very soon with a full pattern release at the same time. So get excited for that, and I can't wait to see you guys next time. Bye!